Hey everyone, it's Ryan. Tonight I'm going to be showing you how I put together a cookie board with different kinds of dips and flavors of cookies. Okay, the first thing I'm going to make is a salted caramel dipping sauce. So for this, I'm going to go ahead and get this started on a medium-low heat. And I'm going to get my half stick of butter. All of the recipes for all of the dips that I'm making will be in the description below. So half a stick of butter, and then I need a half a cup of evaporated milk. And this measuring thing, the other day, I accidentally added half a pint, so half a cup, no, 1 cup, to a recipe because I had it on the wrong side. So that is half a cup of evaporated milk. And then I'm going to add a half a teaspoon of salt. Might seem like a lot of salt, but it is salted caramel. And then a half cup of packed brown sugar. Don't want this to slop everywhere. Come on. Get out of there. Okay. So I'm just going to mix this up a little bit. And really, so this is not the kind of caramel that you don't want to stir. This is the kind you can stir it. It's not gonna crystallize. You're gonna be okay. I'm gonna let it sit until the butter completely melts. And you want this to come up to a boil. Try not to get it up on the sides too much. And I do have a non-stick pan, so I am using a whisk with the silicone coating. So I'm gonna let that melt and clean up. Okay, as you can see, it's starting to come to a boil. So what I'm gonna do is you want to start stirring it pretty continuously. You can let it sit for a couple minutes in between stirring at this point, but once it gets to a full boil, you want to turn it down so that it just simmers, and it is going to simmer for about 15 minutes, and then we will take it off, and it should be nice and thick. All right, so it has come to a boil, so I'm just going to start stirring it, and I'm going to set a timer for 15 minutes. I'm not gonna make you watch all 15 minutes of me stirring this. So I will come back when it gets pretty close to being done to show you what it should look like. Okay, so it has been only about 6 minutes, and this is one of our new pans, and it's actually doing really well. If you have a pan that wants to stick to the bottom, you can go between using your whisk and a spatula just to make sure that it's not getting bits stuck on the bottom of the pan. So I'm just going to keep this going. And this is on about medium heat still, and it's doing just fine. All right, this has about a minute left. So as you can see, it has gotten pretty thick. It's looking really nice. So I think when the 15 minutes is up, I am going to call it done. And I just need to add a half a teaspoon of vanilla. And sorry, I know when I've been mixing over here, it's making the camera go a little crazy. So I'm just going to add a half a teaspoon of vanilla. I'm gonna turn off the heat, add that, mix it up. It's gonna bubble like crazy. So I am just going to put this on the back of the stove and let it cool until we are ready to put it on the cookie board. Okay, so for our next dip, I'm gonna make just some simple buttercream. So for this one, I know I've shared my buttercream recipe before, but I wanted to go for a little nostalgia with this one. And I wanted to add some shortening. I know it's kind of a polarizing topic for some people, but I grew up at parties going to parties where birthday parties, oh my goodness, I'm getting all kinds of messed up here on my words. Going to birthday parties where it would be like cakes made by just ladies from town, or my mom would make our birthday cakes a lot growing up, and there was pretty much always shortening in the icing. And so I wanted to do that on the cookie board. So I have a half a cup of butter and a half a cup of shortening, and I am just gonna mix this up in my batter bowl with my hand mixer this time. And I'm gonna use the same bowl for all of these dips. I'm not gonna wash it in between because it's gonna be fine. So I'm gonna get this mixed up until it's all combined. So now I'm going to add a half a tablespoon of vanilla and just mix that in real quick. And like I said before, I am using the darker vanilla. If you wanted a whiter icing, you could use clear vanilla. So now I'm going to add 2 cups of powdered sugar. Try not to make a mess here. And I'm gonna mix these in one at a time because I know this is gonna be a disaster if I add it all at the same time. Okay, now our second cup. Now I'm gonna turn it on high and whip it until it is nice and fluffy. All right, that is nice and fluffy. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna put these in some piping bags later, but I'm gonna go ahead and just put this in a different bowl for now. And then we will get started on another dip. I'm gonna get out as much as I can, because like I said, I'm not gonna wash this bowl in between. Try and make it simple. And, oh, I made a mess. You could add some food coloring to this if you wanted to. I'm just gonna keep it plain, so, yeah. Okay, so our next dip is going to be a Funfetti dip. And for the sake of this video, I am cutting down my recipes some. In the description box, I will have the full recipes. So I'm just gonna use 4 ounces of cream cheese. I should have started opening this before because it's gonna be a pain. And this has been sitting out for just a little bit, so it is a little bit softer. So it will be a little bit easier to mix up. And like I said, I did not wash this bowl from mixing my buttercream or my spatula. It's gonna be just fine. So I'm gonna whip this up. Okay, the cream cheese is nice and fluffy. So to this, I'm going to add half a box of Funfetti cake mix. Yes, just the cake mix. If you wanted to add sprinkles of your own, like if you have a color scheme, go ahead and just use white cake mix and then add your own sprinkles later. But I am just going to add that to there. And I am going to also add, so like I said, this is half of the recipe. So I need 1/6 of a cup of, I'm gonna use evaporated milk, or you could use whole milk, whatever kind of milk you have. And I know this is a dry ingredient measure, but I'm doing it. I don't care. Going rogue today. So I'm just going to pour this in and get it mixed. And the reason I'm using the evaporated milk is I already have it for one of the other recipes. So I'm just gonna use it. So this is gonna be kind of thick, as you can see. So the next ingredient is Cool Whip. You only need half the tub, so you need 4 ounces. So I'm just gonna go ahead and draw a line where half is, and I'm just going to add a little bit at a time so it doesn't deflate all of the Cool Whip at once. Okay, got that mixed in. And you could make your own whipped cream if you wanted to. I chose not to. Add just a little bit at a time and keep mixing. Okay, now I'm just gonna add the rest and mix. If you wanted to add more sprinkles, you can. That is totally up to you. I'm just gonna leave it like this. All right, I was trying to get the rest of the sprinkles off the beaters. Because once again, I'm not going to rinse the bowl in between. So I'm just gonna put this is what it should look like. I'm gonna put this in another bowl. And I might have to get out my bigger piping bags, because this made more than I thought it would. I'm glad I cut down the recipe. Cody and I are gonna be eating some Funfetti Dip this week. Just what we need. All right, I'm gonna get started on our next dip. This dip is going to be the chocolate chip cream cheese dip. So this is the one that I really wanted to have the graham cracker cookie for, because I feel like every time I am somewhere that has this dip, they serve it with graham crackers. So I am really excited to try this with that cookie. So I have 4 ounces of cream cheese in here, and I'm gonna get that whipped up. Okay, the cream cheese had been sitting out for a little bit, so it whipped up fairly quickly. Now I need 1/2 cup of powdered sugar. Make sure to start this on a low speed because you don't want it to go everywhere. And I'm gonna go ahead and measure out 1/2 cup of mini chocolate chips. Use regular if you want to. I just like the mini because it spreads out more evenly. Oh, and I'm gonna go ahead and add my half teaspoon of vanilla. Get that mixed up. All right, I don't want to beat up my mixer too much, so I'm gonna go ahead and add these to the bowl and just use my spatula to mix them in. Okay, so that is what that looks like. Definitely a lot of chocolate chips, but that is what it's supposed to be. So I am going to get everything cleaned up and come back and show you how I'm going to put all of this together. All right, I got everything cleaned up to make a mess again. So I have pretty much all of our components. I have the dips. Oh, almost knocked the caramel off the counter. Have the dips, just moving everything kind of out of the way. So these are all the cookies. I made chocolate cake mix cookies. These are the brown sugar graham cracker cookies, chocolate chip cookies, and then I used my cutout sugar cookie dough to just cut little round cookies. And then I have some sprinkles and chocolate chips just as like cute little decoration. I have little wax squares. If you're gonna put this on a surface that isn't food safe, go ahead and put a few layers of either wax paper or parchment down so that, you know, everything is safe to eat. I'm using a cutting board, so I'm not gonna use these today. I have piping bags to put the dips in, and then I have the caramel sauce here. And I was just gonna tell you that if your caramel sauce looks like it set up too much or got too thick, go ahead and add some more regular milk, cream, evaporated milk, whatever you use to make it. Go ahead and add a little bit more and just mix it up good. It will be okay if it gets a little too thick. And I just have a little dish here that I am going to put it into to put on the board. Try not to overflow it here. And then to top this, I have just a little bit extra. To top this, if I had some flaky sea salt, I would add that, but I just have this, so I'm just gonna sprinkle just a little bit on top. So I'm just gonna set that aside for later. And then I'm going to grab my cutting board. And then actually, I'm gonna set that to the side because I need to fill my bags. So I just have regular piping bags here. I'm just gonna cut a little bit off the tip of them before I fill them so that there's no air that gets trapped in the bottom. So for the Funfetti and the chocolate chip dip, I'm just gonna put them directly in the bags. I'm not gonna add any like piping tips or anything because all of the chocolate chips and the sprinkles will get stuck in a piping tip. If you wanted to use a smooth piping tip, you could do that. But I am just going to use the bag and just squeeze it down to the bottom. You don't want it to come out yet. And then I'm gonna do the same with the Funfetti. The Funfetti got nice and fluffy as it sat here. So I'm gonna go ahead and fill this bag with the Funfetti. And like I said, you could add more sprinkles if you wanted to, or if you don't like, you know, the colors that are in the Funfetti mix, you could add your own sprinkles to white. You could use white cake mix. Same thing, just squeeze it down. And so for the buttercream, I am going to mix it up just a little bit to get some of the air out. And then I'm gonna use, I just have a star tip here. This is a Wilton 2D tip. It's just a little star tip. So I am gonna put that down in this bag, and you wanna make sure that, I need to cut a little bit more off. You wanna make sure that the opening of your tip comes out the bottom. You wanna make sure that your bag is cut enough that it's not blocking any of those openings. So I'm gonna fill this. You wanna make sure when you're making your buttercream, if you have powdered sugar that looks lumpy, you wanna make sure that you sift your powdered sugar. If you do not, those powdered sugar lumps might not go away and they will get stuck in your piping tip. Whoop. So I have those. I have a few extra bags. Okay, so we are going to get started. So there is not going to be any rhyme or reason for how you do the board. Like I've never done one of these before, so I'm just gonna have fun with it. Okay. So I am going to put the caramel in the center, but I don't want it to be in my way. So I'm just gonna kind of plan everything around that. And like I said, I've never done this before. So we're just gonna have fun. I'm gonna start with the chocolate chip dip, and I cut off a pretty big section. So I think I'm going to start over here, and I'm just going to go in little circles. And I'm just trying to kind of make little sections. I'm gonna do 2 little sections of each. That's kind of odd looking, but it is what it is. Okay, we might come back to that one in a little bit. Okay, so for the Funfetti, I'm gonna do kind of the same thing. I wish I could use a star tip for this one, but I can't. So I'm just gonna cut a pretty good bit off of the end. And I'm just gonna do like some little smooth swirls with this one. So I'm just gonna start over here on this edge and just do little dollops. And I do have more of this one, so it's okay if I do quite a bit with this. I can refill it. Okay, and then I'm gonna come in with the buttercream. We're just gonna kind of do the same thing, except these will be pretty little swirls like the top of a cupcake. And I have more of this icing as well. So I'm just going around in a circle, even pressure. Okay, now we can just go over here and let's see, we can do little dollops. Okay, I'm gonna refill these. Okay, so I refilled my bags and I'm just gonna steady pressure and let it just kind of do whatever it wants, or you can move it back and forth, however you want to do it. There is no rhyme or reason. We're just making it look cute. And then I'm gonna go back with the chocolate chip dip. And I have really hot hands, so the chocolate chips are actually already melting in the end of this. So I'm gonna do one on the opposite side, and I'm just gonna do like a zigzag pattern. Cody said this one's kind of hard to see on the camera, so sorry, I'm literally just doing a zigzag pattern back and forth. The chocolate chips kind of make this one a little bit difficult to do, like a real cutesy design. And then we've got the Funfetti, so maybe I'll do zigzags with it as well. We'll go over here and just really steady pressure. We'll just go back and forth. I mean, this is all gonna be destroyed as soon as the first person goes in for a dip. So now I'm going to go ahead and put caramel sauce in the center, and we are gonna start putting some cookies on here. So I'm gonna put the graham cracker cookies near the ones that I think those would go really well with. Let's see how I wanna do this. Just making it pretty. I'm just making this pretty for the two of us, so this might head over to the couch with me here in a little bit after I'm done cleaning up my mess. Just gonna go around, place each one. Just got my hand in the icing. Then let's see, I love these cake mix cookies with the buttercream. It is so good. So I'm just gonna set these around here. Do the same over here. Let's see, a couple more. Let's see. Oh, these sugar cookies will be great with the funfetti. Grab some of those. Let's do a little pyramid stack here. Like I said, I think I have a recipe video for all of these. So you can find a recipe for all of these cookies on my page. Make sure you are subscribed. That would be great so you don't miss any videos. Let's see, we've got some chocolate chip ones left. Look at how good these chocolate chip cookies look. They're light, they're still chewy. Let's see, yeah, nice and soft. I really hate a hard chocolate chip cookie. They need to be chewy and delicious. So these could really go with any of these dips. So I'm just gonna put them all around. Ooh, almost dropped it. Shockingly, I had those 2 plates full, and we are almost out of cookies. Okay, I got a few more of these. It is perfectly fine if it is touching the dip. It's gonna be dipped in there anyway. So let's see, let's add, I might actually add some sprinkles to my buttercream. So I'm just gonna sprinkle those over top. And you can add some chocolate chips to the top of this one as if it didn't already have enough chocolate chips. And because I'm extra, I'm just gonna put some little piles of chocolate chips here and there. Whoops. And I'm gonna put some little sprinkles, especially if you have kids that are attending the party or whatever you are having, they're going to love to eat the sprinkles. And I'm gonna sprinkle some on top of the Funfetti Dip as well. Because what is a few more sprinkles gonna hurt? Absolutely nothing. Okay, the whole reason I did these graham cracker cookies was for this board. So I'm gonna go ahead and dig into the, do I wanna ruin it? No, I'm gonna take a picture. So I'm just gonna put some of this on here, and this is where I'm gonna end it. Thanks for watching. Bye. Did you stop it before